Every year, around the same time, two of India's biggest states start fighting over one river. Farmers block highways, buses get burned, chief ministers write angry letters to the Prime Minister. And in August 2026, right now, it's happening again. Karnataka has been ordered to release water to Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka is refusing, saying it barely has enough to drink. This isn't a new fight, it's over 130 years old. And to understand it, you don't need a law degree. You just need to understand one simple problem. Two neighbors, one shrinking water tank, and no clear agreement on who gets how much and when. Meet the river Cauvery, also spelled as Cauvery, is born as a small spring in Talakaveri High in the Western Ghats in Karnataka's Kodagu district. From there, it runs about 800 kilometers southeast, crossing the Deccan Plateau, tumbling down the eastern Ghats, and finally fanning out in a massive fertile delta in Tamil Nadu before draining into the Bay of Bengal. Along the way, it touches four territories. It rises in Karnataka, does most of its farming work in Tamil Nadu, brushes the edges of Kerala through a few tributaries, and finally reaches Puducherry's Karaikal region right before the sea. Millions of people depend on it for drinking water, for electricity, and above all, for rice. That's why it's called the lifeline of South India, or Dakshina Ganga, the Ganga of the South. Here's the twist that makes this dispute so hard to solve. The river gets fed by two different monsoons. The upper part in Karnataka fills up with the southwest monsoon rains from June to September. The lower part in Tamil Nadu depends on the northeast monsoon from October to December. So the two states aren't just sharing water, they are completely on different rainfall calendars. And neither can fully predict what the other will get. Rewind the British era. Back then, the upstream territory was the Kingdom of Mysore, ruled by a Maharaja. The downstream territory was the Madras Presidency, run directly by the British. Under colonial rules, an upstream kingdom needed the downstream British province's permission before building anything on the shared river. That imbalance is where the story really starts. In 1892, Mysore and Madras signed an agreement restricting Mysore's ability to build any new irrigation works without Madras's consent. Then in 1910, Mysore's chief engineer, the legendary M. Vishveshwaraya, proposed a large dam near Kannambadi to store over 40 TMC of water. In this discussion, two units keep showing up. TMC, 1000 million cubic feet, a way of measuring a huge volume of stored water, and cusecs, cubic feet per second, a way of measuring a flow like water rushing through a tap. Think of TMC as the size of a bucket and cusecs as how fast you are pouring water out of it. Madras objected. The British stepped in to arbitrate, and Mysore was allowed only a fraction of the storage it wanted. Negotiations dragged on for over a decade until in 1924 a new agreement was signed. This one let Mysore build the Krishnarajasagara Dam and let Madras build the Mettur Dam. But here's the catch. Most of the surplus water was earmarked for Madras, around 75%, with a much smaller share to Mysore. And the agreement had an expiry date, 1974, after which it was meant to be renegotiated. That expiry date is the fault line the entire modern dispute sits on. Independence changes everything. But here is where the story takes an unexpected twist. When 1974 arrived, nobody sat down to renegotiate anything. After independence, states were reorganized on linguistic lines in 1956. Mysore became Karnataka, Along the way, both states expanded farming, built new dams, and their populations exploded, especially Bengaluru's. Karnataka argued the old colonial agreements were unfair relics that blocked its own development. Tamil Nadu argued its farmers had built entire livelihoods for generations around water they were promised. By the 1970s and 80s, this had become a genuine constitutional crisis, not just a local squabble. Under India's constitution, Article 262 allows Parliament to keep interstate river disputes out of ordinary courts and hand them to a special tribunal instead. Using the Interstate River Water Disputes Act of 1956, the central government finally set up the Cauvery Water Disputes Tribunal in 1990, after Tamil Nadu farmers moved the Supreme Court demanding action. The tribunals issued an interim order in 1991 telling the Karnataka to release a fixed amount of water to Tamil Nadu every year. Karnataka's response triggered violent protests and riots on both sides. The first major sign of how emotionally charged the issue had become. After 17 years of hearing, the tribunal delivered its final award in February 2007. Out of an estimated 740 TMC of water available in a normal year, Tamil Nadu would get 419 TMC and Karnataka 270 TMC, Kerala 30 TMC and Puducherry 7 TMC, with the rest set aside for environmental flow. It took the government until 2013 to even officially notify this award, and Karnataka kept resisting to full compliance. The Supreme Court steps in. Most of the people don't know this part. Tamil Nadu eventually went back to the Supreme Court, and in February 2018, the court delivered a landmark judgment. It didn't throw out the tribunal's award, it fine-tuned it. The court gave Karnataka an extra 14.75 TMC, partly to account for the Bengaluru's booming drinking water needs, and partly recognizing that Tamil Nadu has more groundwater to fall back on than the tribunal assumed. The final numbers became Tamil Nadu 404.25 TMC, Karnataka 284.75 TMC, Kerala 30 TMC, Puducherry 7 TMC. But the most important line in that judgment wasn't about the numbers at all. The court declared that no state owns a river. Interstate rivers are national assets to be shared on principles of fairness, not historical entitlement. It ordered the creation of two new bodies, the Cauvery Water Management Authority, which oversees the whole system, and the Cauvery Water Regulation Committee, which does the month-to-month monitoring, checking rainfall, reservoir levels, and deciding how many cusecs Karnataka must release and when. Every month, the CWRC checks how much rain has fallen, how full Karnataka's reservoirs are, and orders a release schedule at measuring point called Biligundlu, right on the Karnataka-Tamil Nadu border. In a good monsoon year, this runs fairly smoothly. In a distress year, when rainfall is poor, the real fight begins. Because the 2007 award never built in a precise formula for exactly how much each site should sacrifice when there simply isn't enough water to go around. Karnataka argues Bengaluru's population has exploded past 13 million and needs drinking water fast. Its own farmers in the upper basin depend on the same river. Rainfall is becoming unreliable with climate change, and it can't release water it doesn't have. Now, Tamil Nadu argues its delta farmers grow the short duration Cauvery rice crop that depends entirely on timely upstream releases. Miss the window, and an entire season's crop fails. Tamil Nadu also points to its older established irrigation rights and says predictable monthly releases, as legally ordered, shouldn't be treated as optional. Kerala and Puducherry, often forgotten in this story, matter too. Kerala's western tributaries like the Kabini feed the system and support farming in Palakkad and Thrissur. Puducherry's Karaikal region, right at the tail end of the delta, is often the last to get any water at all. Meaning, when there is a shortage, they feel it worst and have the least power to fight for more. This dispute hasn't stayed in courtrooms. In 1991 and again in 2016, water release orders triggered bunds, vehicle burnings, and attacks on people from the other state living in Bengaluru and Chennai. Genuinely painful, unnecessary chapters. Businesses shut down, transport halted, and economic cost ran into hundreds of crores each time. It's a sobering reminder of how a technical water sharing formula can turn into deep social mistrust between ordinary people who had nothing to do with the original decisions. Right now in 2026, this is where the story becomes today's news. In July 2026, facing a weak monsoon, the CWRC ordered Karnataka to release 3,500 cusecs of water daily to Tamil Nadu for 15 days, roughly 4.5 TMC. Karnataka saying its reservoirs held barely 46 TMC of usable water for its own needs, appealed to the CWMA, which upheld the order anyway. Protests broke across Bengaluru, Mysuru, and Mandya. Karnataka is now weighing a further appeal. Layered on top of this is the Mekedatu project, a proposed balancing reservoir Karnataka wants to build in upstream, partly for Bengaluru's drinking water. Tamil Nadu strongly opposes it, fearing it would let Karnataka control flows even more tightly during future distress years. It remains one of the most contested unresolved issues in the relationship between two states. Even if every legal question were settled tomorrow, there is bigger problem underneath. Rainfall itself is becoming less predictable. Extreme rainfall swings, very wet years followed by very dry ones, make fixed allocation numbers harder to apply fairly. Add rapid urbanization in Bengaluru and Chennai, and falling groundwater tables across the basin, and you get a system built for the 20th century assumptions trying to survive 21st century weather. Experts point to a few practical paths forward. A genuine pre-agreed distress sharing formula so nobody has to fight from scratch every drought year. Real-time jointly monitored reservoir data, so both states are arguing from the same facts. Wider adoption of water-efficient crops and micro-irrigation in the delta. Rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge to reduce pressure on the river itself. And most importantly, a shift in the mindset. Treating the Cauvery Basin as one shared system to be managed together rather than a pie to be endlessly recut. So who is actually right? Karnataka or Tamil Nadu? Maybe that's the wrong question. The real challenge was never about who owns it. It's about how wisely and how fairly its people learn to share what nature gives them. If you learned something today, that's the whole point. This is a story that will keep returning. So understanding it once means you actually follow what happens next.